My name is Zdravko Cimbaljevic, and I'm coming from Southeast Europe, Montenegro. I'm a human rights activist and LGBT activist. I'm just an ordinary guy who grew up in a society where traditionalism was very important. And I was kind of trying to get out of that. Being the first out gay man in the country, we made jokes about, only gay in the village or something like that. But it was a great responsibility. Well, the idea of organizing Pride in general in Montenegro was existing from the day one I came out. That was one of my dreams. So the day of the march, it was like a president of the United States visiting Montenegro. That was our escort. It was like police was like controlling the people who tried to reach us. The first noise that I hear is like, faggot, go away, and you should be killed, like you should be ashamed of yourself. And then the violence started. They throwing chairs, they throwing bottles full of water. Everything they could just take from the bars around, and ashtrays and glass and everything. Everything was just flying towards us. I could feel like pieces like this of bricks going next to my head. And I just ignored that. We were just going to our aim, and the pride of the day was just unbelievable. Like you were in a movie. It was strange for me. I was afraid, but then proud so much that this is happening. In that moment, I think everyone, all of us, were so proud that we are there. We're making the history. And luckily, nothing really hard hit us.
Hi, I'm Rob Easton. The film you're about to watch is the story of 3 LGBT refugees starting new lives in Canada. They came here in search of a life free from persecution for who they are, and they saw Canada as a place where they could be safe. And as much as we pride ourselves as being a country of refuge, the reality of arriving in Canada for many is quite different. This is Safe Country.
The life that I dream of is to be just simple, like just without any complications. A world where we kind of live with our differences, with no kind of rejection. I never thought I will leave my country, my beautiful country, but I just accepted it as a fact. Where I grew up, everything is kind of accepted in a way, but no one talks about it. And as soon as you talk about it, you've been rejected and called that you're ill or that you're sick. I'm really grateful to Jeff and Rob.
So I'll cook this first because it's going to take longest.
Being so kind to open the door for me and trust me. Being a family to me. That's why I call them uncles and they call me nephew.
We're kind of like his uncles, but in a way there's a parental aspect to it, and it's very affectionate and protective in both directions, actually. So yeah.
I had a roof over my head and there's moral support, and I didn't need to think about it for at least all these months because I knew that they could help me in any moment.
We were on a trip to Montenegro, where we were visiting friends of ours previously from Vancouver.
And over the course of the evening, Zdravko showed up.
And then subsequently found out, here's this person who is not only a significant gay rights activist, he's the first out gay man in a country that's quite homophobic.
So then there's this thing about Montenegro again. Just last week, that 4 people being attacked in 4 days. Oh, yeah. It's hard to just be here and not be there, like watching them and talk to them, but cannot like be there present and do something like.
But
physically.
you're always still involved with them.
Oh yeah, I mean I done the same day I done the press statement and it was followed all over the news but also another side like not being there and feel guilt.
Of course.
Survivor's guilt.
Yes, and yeah.
And the first time we met him, we started talking, and he told us a little bit about being forced to come out as a gay man when he was assaulted by one of his neighbors.
I reported him to police. I was hesitating because if you come out, that means that everybody will know. Montenegro is a very small country.
I was crying over the course of his story. This is how can this happen in a civilized country? Is what I was thinking.
After a couple of days, people started calling me, saying, we heard that you reported some case because you're gay. Stay in the house. How can I work from home all the time and not go out and people bringing me food or whatever? And then we came to idea, like a couple of us. We decided and we came out in public. I was out with my picture in the newspapers. It's like the main newspaper in the country. I'll be the first out gay man in the country. It'll be really difficult, dangerous.
And I remember being quite overwhelmed and riveted because of the work he was doing.
We stayed in contact and after a couple of days, I think, or a week, Jeff told me his kind of decision.
I thought, well, Zdravko, how would you feel if you came to Canada? And so I thought, oh, well, what if I nominated him to be an international Grand Marshal?
I was really shocked by their kindness and their friendship.
It would bring somebody here for a very large audience that, for one thing, would be incredibly supportive.
It's a very small country. I was the only one visible activist in Montenegro. I didn't know that people really kind of take that as something unique.
It was like over the top thrilled.
I needed to make Pride in Montenegro happen. Coming from a place where hundreds of people wanted to kill me to a place where hundreds of thousands of people are cheering and saying, good work. I hear people talking Montenegrin, Serbian, Croatian from the crowd saying, go Zdravko, good work. And I was imagining, I never heard that from the crowd that I came back from Montenegro. I was really preparing for a great day, a day that I was really looking for a long time.
We knew he had been through a lot the previous week, and happy that we could offer him safe haven.
It was very difficult for me to kind of just ignore my internal feelings of what's happening in Montenegro and what just happened in Montenegro.
He, on the surface, seemed completely thrilled. He was completely thrilled to be here.
I was always suppressing my feelings inside, saying, no, you cannot cry. You cannot be weak.
But if you were walking with him, just casually happened to put your hand on his shoulder, he would jump.
Some of my friends here, they could witness my emotional kind of crash in moments because I could just cry. I really felt welcome and safe and secured, and it was just something that I wish for everyone in Montenegro to feel.
There was nothing in his head at that point, going back, that would suggest he was going to come back here. As far as he was concerned, the police protection was going to continue.
But still, I didn't have it in my head, like, maybe I should consider it. But then, I consider it after a month.
So my name is Mo. Real name is Mohammed Lamin Sonko, but I go by Moai Was born and raised in Gambia, and now I'm here in Vancouver since October 2012. It wasn't my first choice to enter here illegally. That wasn't something that, I thought about. And I'm very honest about that with the immigration, with CBSA and IRB. All right, time to get ready. I hope you are not planning on following me into the bathroom. My hearing is today. This is the biggest day of my life. This is the most important thing to me. I'm a little nervous, actually. Rob said, dress professional. Don't show up looking like you're going to the club. I don't dress like that. But I did ask, what should I wear? Just because.
The advice that I usually give to people that it's not my decision, it's the RPD members.
The day is finally here. I didn't sleep last night. My lights were off. I just could not shut my mind off. Being gay is illegal in Gambia. And if you're caught, like your first act, you could spend up to 14 years in prison. And if you're what they call a repeat offender, you could be sentenced to life in prison.
The test for determining whether someone is a genuine refugee, it's based on the United Nations Convention on Refugees. Someone who has a well-founded fear of persecution, and it has to be on one of the 5 grounds that are set out in the convention. Membership in a particular social group, namely one's sexual orientation or gender identity, can be that basis.
Refugees face a risk of being tortured or killed if they return to their countries of origin.
So that, I'm not going to go back to a place like that, obviously.
Canada has accepted same-sex marriage. We have constitutional guarantees under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. All of these things have heightened awareness.
Canada has signed the Convention on the Status of Refugees, has signed the Convention Against Torture.
So what started, I think, with a small trickle has steadily grown to now where, it's a flood.
I moved to the States when I was 18 and lived there for about 10 years. By the time my visa was expiring, the president of Gambia started, this stupid anti-gay laws and was more vocal about them. So I stayed. I could live there, had a work permit, I could work and do everything, but I'm not able to leave the States. Not being able to go anywhere or have my family come visit, that did not help the situation at all.
When he was in Seattle, he didn't have any more status there. So he felt like he was stuck. He couldn't get citizenship. He didn't see a future because of that.
I went to the Canadian consulate in Seattle. I have to show proof of income, legal status in the States, and blah, blah, blah. And based on the stupid status that I had, it would be a waste of money. So the only plan I could think of in my head was coming up here with my friend's passport.
His friend gave Mo his passport so that Mo could come into Canada.
He's like, oh my God, like you've been going through this the entire time. We were friends and nobody knew. And he's like, of course, I'm gonna help you. Like, we don't wanna send your raggedy ass back to Gambia.
That's amazing in itself too. That shows the friendship that friend took that huge risk.
I felt like the clock is ticking. I don't want to waste any more day in the States living this miserable life. Going into my hearing, I need to be calm. I need to be in a good place inside. Like, I'm preparing myself mentally for that, And that's why I did not tell my mother, because she would worry so much about what's going to happen. And then if she's worried, I'm going to be worried, and I don't need to be worried about anything. I was just thinking about what was going to happen. I mean, I was optimistic about what I think would happen, but then at the same time, they might say no. It could be a no, and then if they say no, what would I do?
تناز مهربان هستم از ایران، تهران. از ترکیه 2 سال پناهنده بودم. بعد 10 ماه هست کانادا هم، ونکوور و خونم هم نورت برنابیه. احساس راحتی خیلی خوب میکنم با حیوانات و با طبیعت. بیشتر وقتا میام اینجا مشکلاتمو با اینا در میون میذارم. داده excuse me thank you. خیلی معمولا با بعضی از ایرانیا صحبت میکنم یا کردها و میدونم هم زبانو یاد بگیرم اینجا به هر حال you love you like you very به اون آرزوهایی که دارم بهش میرسم. من خونم نورت برنابیه، اینجا خونمه که الان توش هستیم و پشت سرم تختمه. بعد هم خونه دارم رومن که حدود 7 ماهی هست با هم زندگی میکنیم، مثل برادر خواهر بودیم با هم دیگه، که حالا قراره این ماه هم از هم جدا بشیم. الو سلام. خوبی؟ حمید اونجا بارون میاد یا نه؟
نه الان چرا نم داره بارون.
موقعی که موسیقی گذاشت دوستم حمید به هم دیگه انرژی مثبت میدیم. هم ورزشم بود هم شادیم بود، چون که من خودم یک آدم خیلی اجتماعی هستم. و آدم فوق‌العاده پر انرژی هستم. Thank you. حمید گرمم میشه. من امروز با دوستم حمید کار داشتم، ترکیه پناهنده است. آخه ایشون دوستش ونکوور اومده، قرار شد با من همخونه بشه. با بعضی بیشتری ارتباط اجتماعی دارم، مخصوصا بیشتر پناهنده در ترکیه یا کشورهای دیگه، ولی در داخل کانادا با ایرانیا زیاد ارتباط ندارم و میخوام چون که پیشرفت کنم تو زندگیم باید ارتباطام برقرار بشه. ارتباطم باید بیام تو جامعه با مردم ارتباط داشته باشم، ولی خب نمیپذیرنم، نمیتونم یعنی ارتباط برقرار کنم. بله ناراحتم، خیلی هنوز ناراحتم، نمیتونم باهاشون صحبت کنم.
I wanted to tell my mother first, like I knew how happy she would be. She thinks I'm lying. I know. Yeah, I think I came in like 2 months ago, but my life got date for you because my life is stealing. It's different Colombia in the car. So, oh God, it's done. I just said, oh, I got my hearing today and I was approved. And she's like, what? I said, I was approved.
And then what did she say?
She was just saying how happy she was in my language and stuff. So the fact that I did not come here legally would put me in jail. That I was under that impression. So I prepared myself mentally for that.
Often refugee claimants do have broken immigration law in order to get here, but that can be understood that, desperate people have to do desperate things.
Put yourself into my shoes. Wouldn't you have done the same thing?
We went to rent the van. We went again with the van to the storage place.
Bro, how's it going?
The great friends, Rob and Pablo, gave us a really nice dresser that we can put in our room, and we are really starting and we don't have many things in our apartment. I'm starting to get my life back. I have a job, I have a partner.
So what do you think?
Thank you. With comparison with my life a year ago, it's totally two different worlds. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Pablo.
I hope you like it.
Thanks so much.
Zdravko's life now is changing steadily. He's got a boyfriend. He's obviously really a lot more comfortable and feels like he's creating a new home for himself.
We are both refugees. It's funny how you can meet someone so much that you can just not stop thinking about him anymore. He's from Mexico and he's waiting for his hearing and all that. So we kind of get connected immediately through our own problems.
It's like our son/nephew is kind of leaving the roost.
We took the dresser and we came in our apartment to put it in our room. It looks amazing. It looks cool because we need storage for our clothes and matches with our floor. It's really cool. It's really nice feeling to do all of that because it's kind of we're doing it like for us, and it's a feeling that I'm starting to live a life here.
I don't drink that much. What are you talking about? Jenny and I are hanging out to catch up. I actually really like this wine. I think Spain or Mexico because it's Latin.
Yeah, España.
And we're gonna have some wine and cheese and crackers and talk about my hearing.
Do you want some cheese?
Yeah.
How was your week?
Pretty good.
So I was volunteering at Kinbrace. It's a local nonprofit that works with refugee claimants. They offer transitional housing and settlement support and community.
Jenny is a super close friend of mine whom I met when I lived at Kinbrace.
We had this connection, and especially after he had moved out, we got to know each other more. It is a lot of me asking him questions and him reflecting, but then he does do it back to me. And then he gives his viewpoint. So how does it feel to have a positive?
Feels great. It's been a month and I haven't been like mad.
So you've been more
calm.
Stable.
Yeah. That's funny.
It was hard for me to even contain myself. And I'm in a place where people don't know him, so I couldn't be like, I was like, yeah, but people didn't know why I was excited. And I was surprised that his hearing was so fast. Did you get your acceptance letter?
Mm-hmm. I got that like, 2 weeks ago? No, a week ago maybe. I was like, they can't change their mind. Because you never know. The whole time I was thinking, well, what if they change their mind? Because I feel like my hearing was so easy.
Yeah. Anything specific?
Yeah. It was just probably like 7 pages of knowing that I'm accepted and these are the reasons.
I was confident, but you never know, right? Especially, sometimes it's quite, it sometimes seems a little not always balanced. A lot of people are from places where they can't get a visa. So they had to use a smuggler to get here because there was no other way. So yeah, he had to use a fake passport, not his own, to get here so that he can make a claim.
I have proof that I have still, that I tried the steps that I've taken to come here legally. When I know that's not gonna happen, I had to come up with a plan B.
So the fact that somebody might have even had to use a false passport to come to Canada doesn't mean that they're not a genuine refugee. In fact, it can be quite the opposite.
So when I filled out my application, and then it asked me blah, 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 how I came here, and so I said exactly how I came here. However, I left the name blank.
And then, of course, he got asked a lot of questions about how he got this passport, a lot of questions about smuggling and so on.
I felt like I killed someone.
I know it was really hard for him because he didn't want to get his friend in trouble.
Of all documents, it's the most important one.
And they said he's an American already. He's not going anywhere.
If it's done too late in the game, then it's very hard to, kind of establish your credibility.
And they said when you get here, pretty much, you're gonna go back to Gambia. So in order for us to protect you you have to tell us whose name you came here with.
So he did, he was open and honest about it, but I know that was quite a journey for him.
Right after I told him the name, he said, okay, well, based on blah, 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 we're gonna put you under detention until we can prove your identity.
Refugees may feel that they have to protect themselves and their information because of their experiences from back home. There's so many factors.
You've fled your country where you've been persecuted your entire life because of your sexual orientation. And the expectation is that the first person in uniform that you come up to who has a gun, you're going to come out to them.
They're like, oh, well, you seem to be a very bright young man. If you can figure a way out and come here and plant all these ideas and get away with it, we don't know if this is real.
These are people who arrive from a country overseas, in many cases are severely traumatized, and that the very source of their trauma has to do with imprisonment and torture, who, upon arrival in Canada, are thrown into prison in circumstances that are designed to be punitive.
There's one thing to say, okay, well, we're going to detain you, but then there's one thing to handcuff someone and chain their legs.
In BC, you go directly to a provincial jail where we send people to be punished.
That is just a little too much, I think.
And in fact, you're detained with people who are being punished.
There's been political rhetoric talking about, bogus refugees.
The bad refugee, the bogus refugee that's here to abuse the system.
I find that to be quite offensive.
Commit offenses, and that's simply not the profile of a large number or the majority of claimants or refugees.
Even people who often are turned down, at the Refugee Protection Division, doesn't mean that they haven't experienced hardship.
Someone who's faced severe discrimination because they've got in front of the wrong judge and that doesn't see that as persecution.
And that's sometimes a very fine line between, the discrimination and persecution.
And then from there, I slept at the airport. Now, at that time, I had no idea what was going on. When I heard the airport, I was like, okay, I'm going to Gambia. That's what I thought, honestly.
Finally, I'm going to this event that I really, really looked forward for almost a year. Last year when I came first time in Canada, I heard about World Pride and the Human Rights Conference, and I always wanted to go. I can't wait to go there. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to talk to these people. My partner is with me. He agreed to come with me to kind of support me, but it's also his first time in Toronto. I don't think he's really into the conference that much as I am because he's not into activism as much, but of course he's there to support me, and I'm really excited to have him next to me all these days, and I hope the rest of my life. It's a worldwide conference, which is like bringing all the activists, decision makers, all the people who are kind of into LGBT activists all around the world.
Thank you so much.
The first day is actually a topic about being LGBTIQ refugee in Canada, which I'm really looking forward to be there to talk about issues that are in Canada and we as refugees are facing with, and raise the issues that are still kind of untackled here. This is the first day of the conference already, and I feel good. Well, nice to see you again.
So nice to see you. Say hi to us. I will.
Yeah, I can't believe that I've met some people here that I've never seen for years. There's so many issues I want to tackle about refugees in Canada and to kind of get them being aware of. Well, nice to meet you. Yeah, have a good lunch. Yeah, bye. See ya.
See ya.
So someone wants to come?
He does, but I don't know what I can do to help him or what I can also just be doing as a Canadian citizen to help him, people like him. In general, so.
Yeah, well, he needs to apply for a visa, he needs to, or maybe go to another country to seek asylum.
There's such a crackdown in Uganda now on LGBTI plus individuals.
I feel great to have a chance to express my opinions on the sessions. It was just great to hear that discussion about what the refugees are facing in Canada, what Canada is actually kind of doing backwards. Hello everyone, my name is Zdravko, and I was kind of so positive that I was just telling, oh, maybe everyone is going through all these kind of things together. But no, during these sessions and knowing other cases, I actually recognized not everyone's case is successful. Someone said before, your case is well known as an LGBT activist and you can prove that you're gay and you're being prosecuted. I think my opinions are kind of changing and having more critical opinion and critical perspective of what is Canada really about and how Canada treats refugees.
Canada does have a resettlement program where either the government selects people in refugee camps to bring them over, or it allows community groups in Canada to nominate refugees who need protection.
Canada's government pledges numbers for resettlement refugees that the government's going to sponsor, and in the past 2 years they've fallen quite short of actually realizing their pledges.
The reason why this program is increasingly important is because it has been talked about by the Conservative government over the past few years as a counterweight to these queue jumpers, to people who just come to Canada and claim asylum. And the implication is that they're not as legitimate as people who wait patiently in the camps to be selected.
That is painful and insulting. I don't think anyone actually prepared for asylum. You find yourself in a situation where you are running, you just want to survive, you're like in a sinking ship.
There's so many flaws where they just fail in the immigration office. They need to educate themselves constantly, and we are the ones who can tell them from the ground, this is how we felt when you treated like this, and you shouldn't do this because we felt like this and like that.
چون که مسائل پزشکی من هورمونیه، بعد راهنمایی من بکنه این هورمون چه کارایی داره، این هورمون رو باید چجوری بخوری، چه ساعتایی باید بخوری، باید حتما پزشک باشه که دستور استفادهش هم به هم بگه. همین کارهای داروامو که میخوام برم بگیرم، شانس هم مثلا دکترش یا یکی از کارمندان اونجا فارسی زبان هست، چجوری توجیه کنم چی میخوام، برای چی اومدم اینجا. برای همین فارسی حرف بزنه بیشتر کارم راه میفته. من فکر میکردم بخاطر اینکه مشکل پزشکیمون حادتر بوده، عمل کردیم و داروهای خاص میخوریم توجه میکنم به ما، که دیدم نه اونجوری هم نیست به اون صورت.
Feels so good to see so many powerful faces out here to support refugees today. Since we're here talking about the importance of healing from forced displacement, I also want to acknowledge that we're standing on the unceded Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. We are seeing far more of our members in detention, and the mental health impacts of that are staggering. We're also seeing that people are having far more difficulties accessing basic community supports and legal supports.
Cannot get work permits, cannot get welfare, cannot get health care. All of that type of support is being cut off to discourage people from making claims. Once your claim has been successful, then you will get health care on the same level as other permanent residents or Canadians. Where the challenge arises is with respect to the people prior to being recognized as a refugee, and during the time between the time you arrive and the time that your claim is actually heard, especially if you're in those claims that are contentious from the minister's perspective.
There's a lot of vilification, of refugees, by politicians, and I think that that's really quite unfortunate.
The very clear intention of the government is to cut off access while people are in the claim process.
Even in Canada, where we are getting more and more basic human rights and protections, trans people are highly vulnerable and highly marginalized.
من بارها شده دیدم با استریت‌ها خیلی برخوردشون بهتر از ما هست.
People that I meet, not only are they coming with the basic trauma, the basic violence that has been faced by many refugees, they have faced exceptional levels of discrimination and violence.
But during that time, the government presumes them to be a bogus refugee.
They're waiting for healthcare because it's not accessible to them, and then they're ending up in emergency rooms. This leaves us with people who are sicker, who are dying, and ultimately, if we need to take the angle of the financial aspect, yes, causing more financial burden to our health system.
If you're not a designated country of origin, you have a very, very strong claim. You're going to have a hearing 75 days later. Now, that may not seem like a very long period of time, unless you have to come off your hormone therapy and go with no drugs for 75 days, which is a medical disaster.
We are a country of people who have immigrated, and it's completely disrespectful and completely inappropriate to assume that the lives of those who come here through forced displacement are less worthy of healthcare and less worthy of attention than those of us who are born here. That's completely unacceptable.
من به خاطر جنسیتم به مشکل میخورم. هنوز به خاطر چهرم به مشکل میخورم تو جامعه. بهم توهین و بی‌احترامی میشه.
Now that I have a positive decision, I can apply and get my Canadian permanent residency. So I am going to Kinbrace to see Andrew, and he's going to help me fill out my permanent residency application. How's it going?
I guess to Mo, I'm a little bit of a friend and a little bit of a caseworker, social worker is my background. I met Mo when he first arrived at Kinbrace, where he lived when he first arrived.
Kinbrace is a non-profit organization in East Van. They provide housing for newcomers, refugees in Canada.
It's housing and accompaniment orientation for refugee claimants arriving in Canada.
There's 2 houses right beside each other.
When a refugee claimant arrives in Vancouver, there's the possibility that they'll be offered housing at Kinbrace. Aside from that, it's accompaniment through the refugee claim process. You've done a bunch of these forms already, or no?
I've done a PIF, and
I've tracked with him a little bit through his claim process, through the work permit, and different questions that he's had around that. For this application, we'll fill it out. We need ID, which you have to get a copy. Do you have a copy from CBSA with a red stamp on it?
No, they never gave it to me.
Anyway, I started filling it out a little bit.
Okay.
Some of the forms can still be a little bit difficult. They can, there's a little bit of strategy around them.
So having him help me fill out my form will prevent CIC from sending my application back.
Ideally, we'll send it off, and then hopefully permanent residents will come back within a year or so.
So this is your mistake.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
We're blaming?
Yeah, so what I need...
Anytime Mo is here, he's laughing, he's joking. He likes to have fun, and I think he can't go long without that.
When I got detained, they released me from custody 24 hours after, and then I went back to Kinbrace, and they didn't even know I was gone.
I think he came back a day or two later and was a little bit mad that nobody realized that he had been detained. Anyway, I'll print everything off. They have their own units here. Sometimes we don't see people. We don't check in on people. They pay their own rent. They have their own room.
Now that he can be a permanent resident, there's so many more doors that are open, especially with school and different things that he's able to do that he wasn't before.
I haven't seen him so much now. He's been working. He's moved out. He's creating a life for himself. He's skilled. He's got good work already. He's got a lot to give to our country, and I think even to our community that we see at Kinbrace.
Having status in Canada is so relieving. I can actually sleep at night. It changed my life.
I'm so excited because I'm going to a friend's wedding. That's a part of actually Pride event. 150 gay couples are getting married today. Nice event.
Yeah.
To get married at. So I'm really, really excited to be there because this will be my first gay wedding I ever been to. Excited to see Israel and his now husband. He was so excited this morning when I called him. Yeah, one day.
all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
It was amazing. 12 religious representatives were in the same place congratulating gay couples to get married.
Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, is called in the Quran by God.
It was amazing for me because it is totally opposite in my country.
Love, though sometimes in secret, finding sacred in a world that called it sin.
In many countries, religious leaders are actually gathering to be against LGBT.
Inside that?
Yeah, inside, just there, like the second row. I hope I'll get married and I'll have kids one day. And I'll have a nice wedding as this is, or even better. I hope, but this kind of events really makes me emotional because I was always dreaming about it. As a gay person, I was always dreaming to have a life that is just not a taboo life, and it's not life that I need to hide from everyone. Oh, cheers to that! Cheers to love! Cheers, guys! And I wish I could get married one day and have my own kids or adopt kids or whatever. It doesn't matter for me. It's a sighting day. I'm in Vancouver. And it's actually today was a year that I was the Grand Marshal. And I'm excited because it's proclamation of the Pride Week.
You've had quite a year, right?
Yes, very interesting year.
Do you want to share it?
Finally, I see myself again in City Hall, where all the people around me I know, all the people around me I have friends.
He's an LGBT.
Now I'll go upstairs in City Hall, and the topic today is refugees. I'm going to actually point out a couple of systematic flaws to the cases of others that I helped through the Rainbow Refugee. Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Good morning, everyone. Being involved in representing refugees in Canada, I really experienced that I gained power to my voice be heard. So I want to use opportunity as a refugee, as a gay refugee, to support other refugees in Canada and all around the world. And I think really it's a point where City of Vancouver needs to help Rainbow Refugee with core funding of at least one person who should be full staff and have our offices so we can really have platform when the refugee arrives in Canada. But I noticed that I have their attention, which is very good. I'm really, really looking forward for the City of Vancouver and Canadians to do something about it and change something.
Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, in Squamish First Nations, we are really honored to have you in our territory as family.
No matter how many times I come here for this event, it really touches me in an important way. There's many, many places in the world far away where an event like this would still be a very far off dream.
خیلی برام تاریک شد. خونه برام تاریک شد. باز انرژی داشتم، باز یکم شاد بودم، ولی گذاشت رفت. همخونه من به خاطر اینکه ترانسکشوالی من، خانوادهش، دوستاش براش حرف درست کرده، میگفتن که مثلا یه ترانس، تو چجوری تا الان باهاش همخونه شدی؟ تو با این سکس میکنی یا اون با تو سکس میکنه؟ و پسر خوبی بود، من باهاش زندگی میکردم، هیچ مشکلی با هم نداشتیم. من دوستام همه کمکم کردن، آگهی همخونه‌ای که لازم دارم و گذاشتن تو اینترنت. هنوز خبری نیست، هیچکی به من زنگ نمیزنه. نمیدونم چرا، دلیلشو نمیدونم. امروز 11 من تا 13 وقت دارم پولو جور کنم بدم و منیجرم اون حرف رو زد مهلت تا این اندازه من دیگه افسرده شدم هر شب گریه میکنم
Oh my God. I'm so nervous.
What are you nervous about?
Everything today. I'm shaking and I have butterfly in the stomach, but everything is like happening. Oh, they're here. I was like, what? I work every almost day in a week.
But then all in one box, so you carry only one box with all.
And then next to that, I being coordinator of Rainbow Refugee in Pride Parade, which had so much to do. And then Iram and we are getting married. 8 months, 8 years, or 18. If I don't know now, or if we don't know now, then we'll never know. Hi, Mira.
Wow. How are you?
Thank you for coming. I don't know how I done it or how I'm doing it, but I'm good in it. So yes, we'll walk proudly, and then a couple hours after I'm getting married to a man I love and I want to spend the rest of my life with. There'll be a car, and then 33 flags. So you find, for example, Iran, 33 countries at this moment, Rainbow Refugee is helping refugees or helped refugees. I'm so proud of every refugee today who came. I'm so proud of you who carried for those who couldn't come today because they're still afraid to be in public. Thank you so much and happy Pride! Woo! Becoming a refugee is not that easy. They need to make a decision, they need to find a way to leave the country, then need to find a way how to seek a refuge, and for some countries that's not even possible.
You've got this idea of having a walled garden, and the bad people are outside and the good people are inside.
So all these details are practically stopping them to come. All this paperwork and...
We can prevent them from getting on the plane and stay there to be tortured and killed, but we can't send them back once they make it here. And so the good refugees are the ones who wait outside the country to be selected by the government, even though the chances of being selected are abysmally low.
I'm already proud that refugee and asylum seekers finally have like a focus of the public. I'm an extra Vancouver like cover page as a refugee.
Seems to be in the air, and I think it's really important.
People kind of saying, oh, I really understand. Thank you.
When Zdravko has a cause, he does what he needs to do to get it done. And
I'm glad that I'm part of it. But thank you for the nation. But my story should reflect stories of others.
He is still continuing in his work there, which is, I think, a great thing that, we can't be shut up.
It's not about me, it's about bringing attention to the stories of refugees in Canada.
A lot of refugee communities have become very well integrated.
We're not coming with burden, we are not people only with problems and everything. We give society so much as well.
But the ability to integrate in a climate of hostility makes that even more challenging, where you are the undesirable, the unwanted, the other. And so trying to integrate into society becomes much more challenging.
به خودم قول دادم جلوی هیچ کس گریه نکنم، نه جلوی منیجرم نه جلوی هیچ کس. برای تنهایی خودم شاید گریه کنم یا با دوستام تلفنی، ولی جلو مردم گریه نمی‌کنم. دوست دارم انرژیم خوب باشه برای زندگیم. اگه قرار باشه واسه یک خونه یا برای یک جا اینجوری خودم ببازم که دیگه نمیتونم زندگی کنم. میخوام تلاش کنم به آرزوهام برسم.
At the end of the day, we're the same people. Who made all these rules that you can't go here, you can't live here? People need to be free in the world.
What does it mean to have borders? What does it mean to have nation states?
Like if someone's not safe where they're from, that's not their choice. I don't recall having a choice when I was younger to be like, oh, you can either be this or that, or you can be born in Canada, or you can, trust me, if I had the choice, it would be a different case.
A fundamental change to the global order, or some type of limit on numbers.
Safer place should open their doors more for people like me.
One would hope that you don't put yourself in a situation where you don't have enough lifeboats. But the reality is we don't have enough lifeboats. So who gets thrown overboard?
So we are gathered here today to witness and to be part of this celebration as two very special people join their lives in marriage, honoring the commitment that they have made to one another.
Okay. I want to do it before, and if the decision comes negative, at least you're my husband, and you've been here, and I acknowledge you as my husband before anything happens. I don't want him to leave. He's everything, and then suddenly someone else decide about his future. The case was so clear. He knows I love him, and he loves me, and whatever happens, we will go through it together in the future.